Hey, welcome to Automation Notes. Brought to you by Doc Digitizer, the Automation Notes podcast is a collection of new and inspiring insights about intelligent automation. We'll discuss with the world's leading intelligent automation minds the most recent trends, success stories, and promising projects in the intelligent automation space. But before we dive into today's show, if you want to take your automation projects to an all-new level, leveraging critical data locked in your documents, photos, or emails, visit docdigitizer.com and find out how you can deploy the world's most reliable intelligent document processing platform in less than 1 day. Thanks to its proprietary technology using the most advanced AI breakthroughs in cognitive automation, natural language processing, and a built-in expertly designed human-in-the-loop, Doc Digitizer offers the world's first all-inclusive intelligent document processing platform. You can get 100% accurate data from nearly any document with close to zero setup and a full pay-per-use model all into a single API call. Whether you're looking to process a simple invoice, streamline your customer onboarding journey, or get data from your legal contracts, Doc Digitizer will be your trusted IDP partner. They also offer unusual features like handwrite support, complex table data extraction, fraud detection, and out-of-the-box integration with UiPath, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, and many other automation tools. So stop spending months getting datasets and training models to deploy an IDP tool, and then end up with costly human-in-the-loop data validation on every single document. Doc Digitizer offers an all-in-one, fully managed API, making intelligent document processing truly easy. But don't just take my word for it. Take the word of leading global 2,000 organizations, all loving and using Doc Digitizer to unlock hyper-automation over complex and unstructured mission-critical processes. Head over to docdigitizer.com and start your all-inclusive IDP journey. But it is now time for another incredible Automation Notes show.
Today we have as our guest Manuel Nunes, automation consulting lead at Roboyo. Manuel also was a guest in our season 1 in Portuguese. So I have high expectations for this episode. Manuel episodes on our first season was the most viewed episodes of all the episodes on season 1. So I hope this can spice up this episode. And Manuel, you should try as much as possible to win more audience with this new episode in English. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, and thanks for setting the bar so high. A lot of pressure. I think it will be easier for me because I'm an immigrant for about 10 years. It's actually my 10th year this year. So I think, English will be way easier than Portuguese nowadays.
Fantastic. And perhaps we can start there. Can you share with our audience who you are and what you do at Roboyo?
Yeah, very cool. So, so my name is Manu. I'm the regional consulting lead for South Europe at Roboyo. So that's really at the moment Iberia, where we have quite a big team, and Italy, where we're ramping up like in the market. So we recently launched, and I'm working in intelligent automation from the very beginning, right? It's my 7th year now, and I actually started more on the technical side as an RPA developer, working a lot with Blue Prism back in the day, and today I actually lead like our advisory team. So all the topics around the technical implementation that my colleagues do, that touch like topics such as scaling, how to discover potentials, how to set operating models, how to actually create some gamification around the whole topic that sits with my team. And then I have clients with different kind of, let's say, spectrum of maturities. So clients that got stuck on the journey, clients that are champions and they just want to put more fuel to their fire and speed more. So it's quite interesting. And maybe a little word about Roboyo. So we are the world's largest intelligent automation pure play. So at the moment we are roughly 500 people that only do intelligent automation. And I think like many companies in the field, we started with RPA back in the day, and now we have kind of all of these cool technologies where I know you're quite familiar with them as well. that create this hyper automation ecosystem. So, such as process mining, intelligent document processing, business process automation, and basically we use all of those to deliver process automation for our clients.
Fantastic. And you mentioned hyper automation or intelligent automation, so that there are a lot of terms. What can you share about this? And how is this impacting Roboyo's strategy? Because you guys were, I would say, pioneers on offering this huge toolkits of intelligent automation. So, what can you tell our audience about this space? And how you guys are handling it and making it an offer for the market?
Yeah, good question. So I think people use intelligent automation and hyper automation kind of interchangeably nowadays, right? So maybe starting a little bit by defining the term. So in hyper automation, I think it's a word that was defined by analysts, and sometimes I think it's seen a little bit as with some let's say skepticism around LinkedIn. So I've seen a lot of posts around that. So my belief, and I think in a way also Roboyo's belief, is that there's actually quite a lot of value behind the word, right? So in net, I think hyper automation is all about using these technologies that you can actually, that do different things in an orchestrated way to actually extract value from your business processes, right? And automation is one lever that you actually have there, right? So, and it's basically directly embedded within the word, because the belief is that you can actually, by digging deep into your business processes, standardizing them, you can actually find quite the opportunities to, in the end, automate them and use technology to basically free people to then, do more interesting stuff, like talk to customers and so on. So I think hyper automation is kind of this big umbrella, and the word hyper, in my view as well, is it's because in the last years, like, clients have been tweaking and finding, like, let's say, better ways of doing it fast, right? Whether it's getting more value fast or doing stuff kind of faster in terms of project timelines and so on. So that's a little bit how I would define it: using technology to orchestrate and get business value out of process automation faster.
Do you think that the term hyper automation is something beyond technologies? Because you mentioned, of course, you start to have a lot of different tools that combine into a toolkit. So technology is there, and it's becoming more and more broad, and at some point a little bit more complex. But is it also about the maturity of implementation and the maturity of operations?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's so many variables in this type of implementations, or any IT implementation for that matter, right? So you have the technology, and I think you should strive to select technology that fits, like, let's say, your IT strategy, technology that is good, that is scalable, a little bit more the IT part of really looking at technology and making a good selection. But that alone, it's not enough, right? So I think bringing people on the journey of kind of implementations and transformations, it's so important, right? Because you can try all the coolest technology in the world, if people don't use it, people don't kind of buy into the topic, whether it's people that sit on the implementation side that actually make the, let's say, really the magic and create the quality on the implementations, or the key users in the end, right? I think you need buy-in from everyone. And then you also have, specifically in the area where we implement, you also have a process component to it, right? So I remember back when I started all this kind of my journey in intelligent automation, I never challenged processes, right? I was
Yeah.
kind of, I thought I was an automation consultant, so my task was to automate stuff. And eventually you mature, and you realize that you need to spend time on the process, understand what it does, why it exists, challenge it, improve it. And then sometimes you end up in in automation as the answer. Sometimes you don't, right?
Yeah.
Maybe just one example for the audience: process mining now, right? It's so popular, so asked by all the clients, right? And it's a great lever to find cases for automation, but it's also a great lever to find process improvements, right? It doesn't need to end in automation, and even though it's part of the hyper automation umbrella.
Exactly. And do you think some customers may be addicted to short-term automation gains, because that may jeopardize this holistic view on hyper automation?
Yeah, I think sometimes quantity, like people are measured on quantity, right? How many
Yeah.
automations I deployed, how many projects I've delivered, and those are sometimes vanity metrics, right? And I think if you're measured on value, right, so how much kind of real impact you're creating, then you start thinking or looking at this a little bit different, right? So my colleague in my region in Roboyo, um, he used to lead the whole program globally of intelligent automation for Philips. And he actually always tells this to our clients, which is he had a haha moment when he was looking at the stuff that he was doing, and they had a lot of use cases live, and the results were quite underwhelming. So they actually shifted a little bit where instead of doing a lot of projects, they were doing strategic use cases. So they spent much more time on finding them, they spent much more time on standardizing them, and the implementations of automation got also much bigger because the cases were complex, right? But in the end, the results were, tenfold, right? Because as opposed to, implement every little demand that comes to the central team, they were actually they went looking for the big ones, and usually there are many big ones out there.
Exactly. And connected with that, it's we need also to look at the way this automation, both the technology and the services around automation, are sold. And I know that you at Roboy have been experimenting a lot with these real cool new engagement models with customers. So what can you share about this? Can you share anything?
I can share a couple of things, yes, and I think it's very much connected with this kind of last question of value, right? So I think our point of view was to move a little bit the conversation of what's a day rate, what's how much time do I need to actually put the project live, right? And what we wanted to do is a quick and easy way of allowing clients to remove the barriers of entry to automate, and put our skin in the game in terms of, we put ourselves in the same boat as the client, so we risk part of the fees of our engagements, and we basically tell the client, if this is not a success, okay, we take the risk. If it's a success, you pay the normal price, right? It's not even that they are overpaying the cost of the engagement. So maybe I'll give you a couple more depth there. So the first service that I think is quite innovative, it's called plug and play automation, which is essentially the Netflix of automation. So what we did was we looked at our portfolio of services, and we have, the part of discovery where you find use cases, the part of implementation where you implement them, and the part of support where you maintain them. And we just said, instead of selling these as separate blocks to the clients, and then we always have this admin effort of, the client wants to kind of really scope it differently, and then etc. We just wrapped everything into a kind of a subscription fee monthly. The clients only pay when the process goes live. So if running on the assumption that we select very good processes, the return is immediate, right? Because the moment the process starts to give benefit, that's the one we start charging. And basically, the only thing that we need really from the client in order for us to get started is a list of cases that we want to explore and onboard on the system, right? And for the client, it's really kind of worry less, right? Because you can, really bring us to run the automation, and the client runs like its normal business. And for us, it's basically a way to tell the client that we are willing to do projects at our own risk, right? If you trust in us, because we trust in our ability to get stuff to production, to deploy it quite fast, and to then unlock the value. So that's one example that I think it's quite innovative, and I think more on the outcome based fees, which was another question there. It's, for example, there's many assessments that sometimes the clients see them as a barrier of entry to actually start the whole journey, right? Why should I pay, like, let's say, for an assessment to find use cases when I can just, source ideas from the functions and let them, submit ideas? And what we've seen when we actually compared in our clients, the clients that do a structured assessment in the beginning versus the clients that source ideas from, let's say, functions that might not have the full awareness on the topics, is that clients that take the time to do the assessment, they have longer programs, they have more value because they prioritize the program, let's say, in the right order, so they automate the most valuable stuff earlier. And in general, they can create more awareness than the kind of the teams that just wait for demands, right? And so we decrease the barriers of entry there. We tell the clients, we do the assessments like much kind of, let's say, at our own risk, because we know it's going to be valuable for the client and ultimately for us as well as a professional services provider, basically.
Exactly, and that is a fantastic move, and some fantastic ideas and insights. I would say that the market itself is very anxious to get some framework that is proven, so they can kick off their projects, because at some point most of them don't know how to start, and they look for ways to start, but probably those ways are not the best ones. So if you have this kind of knowledge base and experience in deploying this over several industries, I think your customers will benefit a lot for having those skills up front in the project. Because if you start the project like that, you'll most definitely then speed up the process and get more out of the automation. And I think this is very connected to some of the initiatives that you are doing by launching an operations center. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do at your operations center, and how is this helping your customers on their automation journey?
Yes, so it's connected again with speed. So one of the kind of the biggest feedbacks I hear on from clients is we had a very good journey or a very good speed in the beginning, and then we reached, let's say, a certain number of processes in operations, that now operations is consuming the capacity I have to actually tackle new projects, right? It's nothing new. It's probably now a little bit new in our field because we're reaching that point of maturity. But from an IT point of view, right? Once you have stuff in production, it doesn't run itself. You need to maintain it. And so looking at that, more and more requests started coming, and it's not only this year. I think it's already for a couple of years, of clients that wants to externalize these kind of, let's say, robotic operations, right? So really, listen, Roboyo, we have now 100, 200 processes here that we want you guys to run them, do the incidents for them, do the change requests, and so on, so we can actually focus on continuing the program, right? So expanding more technologies and so on. And so what we've done was creating kind of a proper dedicated team that has kind of the whole customer experience there, the technical know-how to actually do the operations, and it actually operates from Barcelona, Mexico, and India. And in Barcelona, the guys sit very close to me, where I'm based, and that's a little bit where the idea came from.
Fantastic. So you are essentially keeping the robots of your customers alive, and giving them time to work on the new initiatives and automate more and more and more, without being stuck on managing what they already have. It's really amazing, and I would say that as the maturity of the market increases and the number of processes increases, this kind of offering would be really key to support COEs and automation departments. I know that you also have been experience a slight shift on the way customers approach the identification of new opportunities. So traditionally, you have this approach of focusing on cost cutting projects or cost cutting opportunities, and now this has been shifting a little bit more towards gaining business opportunities, getting more money, selling more. Can you share a little bit about this and your insight about this?
Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about this topic actually, and I think it's actually something that we've been tinkering on our discovery approaches to actually incorporate also this market feedback, because so traditionally and traditionally is basically the past 5 years, what we've been doing to find use cases for automation, it's essentially cost mapping, right? So we understand how many people do particular processes, we make an assumption on how much we can actually address those processes with automation, and based on labor cost we actually come with, let's say, a pipeline for use cases, we come up with our top opportunities and so on. So the reason this approach is obviously cool to build a backlog and to kind of prioritize the top cases, and I think it still has a lot of value. But because it's like the starting point is processes and activities that we actually do today, sometimes misses a little bit uh, processes that we could be doing and that we are not doing because we don't have capacity, where automation could actually give a lot of, let's say, benefit and create actually a lot of revenue, right? So I'll give you a couple of concrete examples, right? So when the pandemic started, a lot of the companies in retail, they experienced like a disproportionate number of chargeback defenses. So it's the process where when you order something online and then you return it, you actually need to you claim back your money, right? So for you as a consumer, you're waiting a couple of days until your money is credited back, but for the company itself, they need to actually do the cross check on the, let's say, on the supply chain side of things. Did the goods return to our warehouses? Did somebody sign when they arrived there, and so on? And then you also need to do the money part, really confirm, have I paid this kind of reimbursement before, and so on. And this process, right, if you just apply like some thinking, there's so much fraud potential in this process, and so there's a process that you should be doing in your business processes that you are not doing it manually because the volume there just peaked.
Exactly.
Right?
You don't have capacity.
There you go. And if you do like a standard assessment just to map costs, this process does not, you don't need to identify it to automate, right? So I think something that is quite key is to actually start, using automation not only to, do cost cutting. And it's not that easy to say that now in a potential recession, but not only to do it in cost cutting, but also to, find new ways of actually generating revenue. I don't know if you think we have time. I have another use case on this.
Yeah. Please
Is it quite
share.
cool? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have an hotels group clients, and they used automation for a very simple process that nobody was doing manually, right? And the process was logging into the portal, like for example booking.com, and checking how many rooms are available in a particular hotel, and then cross-checking that against how many rooms are open in the system of the internal system of the hotel. And in theory that should always match, right?
Yeah.
Because basically a receptionist, when they lock a room in the internal system, it should be reflected everywhere. But because there are different, let's say, bonus schemes for depending on where the the bookings come from, what happened for that hotel, for that client, was that they realized that the receptionists were blocking the rooms in the system that had give like lower bonus to them. So
Oh,
the bookings always came from the right, let's say, channels. And by doing this cross check, the client actually realized that they were overpaying on bonus quite a lot, right? And that's just one example of something that you can use automation to actually do processes that manually you're not doing them.
yeah, very cool example. And let me also share that we have been also noticing this when it comes to the lead time of processes. So, in there are quite a few processes like loans processes in banks or claims process in insurance, where we see at Doc Digitals that customers value a lot the speed time of those processes. So through automation, they are able to collapse the time they take to answer customers, and that by itself has a value that is way above the cost savings that they have on their back office. So yeah, I must say that the way we identify the processes need to change, need to be more holistic, and need to spot these kind of opportunities that can go not that don't focus only on cost savings. And I completely agree with you. It's like it's a sea of opportunities if we look at automation as an enabler and not really as a cost cutting tool. Going and now moving to the future and outlooking the trends, where do you see intelligent automation 5 years from now? Yeah,
I think
this is always a tough question.
I think in if I'm thinking whether 5 years ago I would have guessed where this is now. So just to see so the audience also has some level of confidence on my predictions. I think probably 5 years it's quite hard to say. I do think that the biggest trend I see is orchestration, right? So not thinking about anymore about technology separately, but actually putting all together, right? And looking at the processes end to end, and some part is done with RPA, some part is doing with IDP. So I think orchestration will be a big one. It's already there, but it's not there to the scale and quality that I think really makes it adopted. I think another area that I've been thinking a lot is process mining, for example, gives you the past, right? Gives you the historical data. But I think we still don't have a tool that gives us the future, right? So process simulation. And I know that a couple of our BPM partners, Appian and the Bisaji, as an example, they're kind of playing with a couple of these features, and I think they're going to be very cool, which is let's say in supply chain is very cool. I have my process completely mapped out, right? And now I can, like, let's say, do modeling and do kind of, let's say, scenario testing with my process. What happens if my the kind of the price table of these goes up, and I have a bottleneck on this step, on that step in the future? How do kind of, let's say, my throughput reacts? I think this will be quite cool once we actually have, let's say, digital twins from offline processes, let's say, online, that we
Yeah.
then can test them in a much more kind of end-to-end way. Because now test automation is started to be applicable to to kind of automation processes, but it typically tests a component of an end-to-end process. And I think in the future you're going to be able to test end-to-end processes in a simulated way, and I think it will be quite cool to be able to do that.
Fantastic. I always like to ask our guests to share some suggestions of a book, podcast, or person to follow, so our audience can know more about this space. What are your suggestions?
Um, hmm. I tend to take a lot of ideas from non-automation, let's say, reading. I really like the 4 Hour Work Week. So it was a book that actually I don't even know if I recommended this on the Portuguese version. So hopefully it's a different one. from Tim Ferriss. So it
Yeah.
changed my a lot of kind of, let's say, my career and also the way I think about a lot of things. And I read it kind of when I was in high school, I think, and I've been a follower ever since. He also has a very cool podcast, and I recommend that one. And then there's a very cool book also from Richard Feynman, which is stories about his life, which is called "Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman," which I would recommend as well. And I saw it in Fnac for the Portuguese audience, so it's in
Fantastic.
Portuguese now.
Fantastic. And what is next for you and Roboyo? And how can our audience, if they want to understand more about your offer or engage with you, how they can reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, for myself personally, I'm still having a ton of fun in intelligent automation. So I think I'm basically going to continue doing what I do, like talking with clients, and I have kind of clients in so many different verticals that the work is always fun. And I think for Roboyo specifically, we're kind of on a growth mission for quite many years now, but I think that's here to stay. And just look us up on LinkedIn and see what we are doing. If you want to speak with me specifically, I'm also like reachable on LinkedIn. So I think it's Manuel JC Nunes. So like my name here in the screen, and I think LinkedIn is the best one to get in touch with me.
Yes, and I must say that Roboyo published a lot of webinars that are really amazing. So if you want to know more about intelligent automation and their work, please subscribe to their YouTube channel. Amazing content, a lot of events also. So stay tuned. Manuel, hosting this episode was really a pleasure to me, and I always like very much to talk with you. It's very refreshing. You always surprise me. So thank you again for taking some time out. I know that you are very busy, very busy. So thanks again for taking the time to chatting with me and for being on our show.
Yeah, cool. João, thank you so much for inviting again.
Wow, what a fantastic show. So many incredible takeaways. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to stay updated with the most recent intelligent automation trends, success stories, and promising projects, please subscribe to Automation Notes on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor, and YouTube. You can find the links in the subscription. We release a new episode every 2 weeks. But before we leave you today, if you want to take your automation projects to an all-new level, leveraging critical data locked in your documents, photos, or emails, visit docdigitizer.com. and find out how you can deploy the world's most reliable intelligent document processing platform in less than 1 day. You can get 100% accurate data from nearly any document with close to zero setup and a full pay-per-use model all into a single API call. Whether you're looking to process a simple invoice, streamline your customer onboarding journey, or get data from your legal contracts, Doc Digitizer will be your trusted IDP partner. Doc Digitizer offers an all-in-one, fully managed API, making intelligent document processing truly easy. But don't just take my word for it. Take the word of leading global 2,000 organizations, all loving and using Doc Digitizer to unlock hyper-automation over complex and unstructured mission-critical processes. Doc Digitizer is helping companies across multiple industries to reach their full potential through data by empowering their digital transformation, driving operational efficiency and human productivity, unlocking the power of their data.